Good morning, everybody from Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana. What an exciting week. We were all delighted to see swoop in. One never knows what's going to happen at the nest in the spring. It seems since Ozzy died in 2014, Harriet has been kind of cycling through some mates. First there was Hal, and then he didn't show up last year. At least he didn't show up in time, because there was a lot of competition for her last year. And if you all remember, this handsome young bird with no necklace and long stockings on his legs swooped in, and he acquired Harriet and the name Swoop. And he's back. He's a beautiful bird, and we all know that he loves to fish, particularly that goldfish pond. I'm going to have to call my neighbor and make sure that that pond is well stocked for the season, because he seems to like those goldfish. But it's just a delight to have them back and to get the breeding season going again. So this morning, we're going to be talking about breeding as well with our wonderful friend, Brandon Carpenter from Hash Knife Ranch. He's going to take us out on the range to meet some of his cattle and his newborn calves. And with that, I'll ask James to get the film rolling. And then afterwards, I'll cut back in and talk with Brandon about his film. So stay with us and have some fun meeting some cattle and some calves.
Good morning from the Hash Knife. Well, we're going to take you on a little ride this morning. I'm out here looking some cows over, checking them out. Me and the horse with no name. And just going to kind of look some of these girls over and see what we can't find. I've spotted one out here a ways away, and we'll see if we can't get a little closer to her. She may or may not have a calf, and we'll check it, make sure it's up and sound if she does, and what number we're looking at, so we can tell who to match her with when we make a tag and put a pink or a blue one in its ear, or maybe even a yellow one. We'll see how we've got them on our list of who we want to keep, who's a potential to keep, who we don't want to keep. It's a long story, so stay tuned. Yeah, we found her. She'd moved on me, come around a bunch of these other cows, and as you can tell, she's kind of wringing her tail a little bit. She's uncomfortable. She's got a really tight bag, and she's wanting to move up and down and move, try to relieve some of I'm sure she's having some contractions. I'm going to be just kind of gentle here a little bit, past some of these older cows. Let her sit, let her watch her a little, see how she does. This was the cow, this was 95, that's the one I thought we had down there. Last year she lost her calf. We never found it. It had some afterbirth, but it was right there in the corral, because last year was her first year to have a calf. And I was checking them all the time at about 2 in the morning. There was afterbirth and no calf, and I looked everywhere. Like it was the oddest thing in the world. No drag marks. You couldn't see anything in the snow. As well, maybe a coyote got her or something, but who knows. So she really wanted a calf, though, so I've got good hope for her having a successful birth and being a real protective mother. She was trying to steal calves. That's not always a bad thing for the want to, but we don't want her to follow through and break a bond with a natural mother, like I'm trying to do with a twin. Yeah, I know I'm full of hypocrisy here. Yeah, we'll give her a minute and watch. Well, this cow has moved off about 3/4 of a mile to the east in this pasture, and with her has come some other cows behind her. And trying to hold this thing steady because it's on a telephoto zoomed in, but you see she's bedded down and trying to get some solitude. Of course, these cows said to come on down the fence line, but she's been struggling here and there and wringing that tail, laying there and rocking back and forth. And she must be dropping some discharge, because you can see she turned around, she's smelling the ground. That's not uncommon. And looking for some afterbirth. They know a calf is coming. These cows are incredibly tuned into scent and smell, so you can watch them do this time after time. We'll see if we can't kind of shorten this up for you. See that tail's getting ringed pretty well. She's straining, humped up, and I would expect that baby to be here before long. Stay tuned. I was just going to say, she's getting ready to lay down, so I thought I'd pull the camera out before I could start filming too much. There she was. So she's really uncomfortable, and she is feeling some contraction. She humps up. She's going to probably stretch her neck out, lay flat, and come up. Oh, like that. That hurt a bit. And she'll thrash around a little bit here. Hopefully it's not too hard of a birth. But again, it ain't easy. If they did, us bulls would be doing it. Alright, she's been up and down a couple more times. She's really straining hard now. Oh yeah, I think I see a baby coming. Calf on the way. And a lot of times they'll get those feet sticking out. And that's a really good indication for us. You got 1 foot out or 2 feet out. If you can get 2 feet out, that's great. And then you want to see which way they're turned. If you got the hoof with the bottom of it down, then you probably got a calf that's coming the right way with the front feet and head behind it. But if you've got feet with the soles up, then you probably got a backwards calf. And the best you can hope for is that you got 2 feet coming backwards. Is that way you can at least not have to worry about them having a leg back, and you can help them out and get them into the corrals and do a head sit catch, and then assist them by pulling them, because it's really hard to get birth of those hips first. It can be done, and I know it is done. Oh yeah, there's a part of the sack. Got some feet coming. You can't tell from here which way they're going, but still, all in all, that's just kind of a normal procedure so far. But those front feet coming down out of there first is nice, and then the head follows, the nose and head follow. But I think there's a lot of calves that are born backwards that we just don't know about. And because I can't imagine that I've pulled them all, the only ones that have ever come backwards. I think there are some that come and we just don't know about it. It's a successful birth. So it's the problem is when you got a hind end coming first with no feet, then you got a breech and you got a problem. And a lot of times that's a cesarean section type of emergency that you've got to get somebody there and with their handy dandy scalpel, some anesthetic, and help the cow out. All right, stay tuned. Boy, and just like that, I didn't even see her strain, and it hasn't been 2-3 minutes, and she got a baby. There we go. It's lifting its little self up. That's good. Hopefully she can get that sack off its face. And looking like she's licking its face. Looks like it might be clear. That's outstanding. So we got a live birth so far. She can get its face cleared out and get it to breathing. We will be golden. And then be able to get it up on its feet and nurse. And then I'll leave it alone. We might ease up here a little bit though, to see if we can see what's going on. That was a very, very smooth birth. She didn't even strain, just it was there. You know the biology behind this? Sperm and an egg cell get together and blastosphere is formed. You get pretty technical about things. Genetic alleles are shared. Grows up into an embryo. And then you get this small calf. But there is nothing clinical about the wonderment of birth. Every time I see it, every time you witness it, doesn't matter whether it's puppies, cows, horses, people, it's still just a miracle. Just an amazing thing. Look at that little guy. He's like, man, I know I'm not as warm as I was. Look how attentive she is licking him off. And it won't be long and he will be up on his feet. I like to see this struggle. When they're struggling like this, they've got some strength, they've got some will to live. And it won't be long and he'll be trying, look at that, already trying to get up on his feet. Look at that. Love it. Just love it. Oh, dang it. Sorry, my horse is moving here. Listen to her talk to him. It's kind of funny. He's trying to get up like a horse. Horses always get up with the front feet first. Everything else tries with the hind end first. And I don't want to get too close. I can get right up there. But she is going to be pretty protective, and I'm not too worried about my own safety as horse. What I worry about is that you get too close and she's going to defend that calf. And they get so focused on defending them that sometimes they'll step on them and hurt them, can kill them. So here we want to just use a little bit of discretion and watch her for a little bit. We won't get any closer. She's concerned about us, but she's watching him. So that every time that tail swishes like that, she's telling me to back off. You watch her when she picks that head up. She'll swish that tail just before she draws, or just as she drops her head. See if she does it again here. Just licking them off. That cow's tongue is really rough. Gets all of that amniotic fluid off of them. Stimulates them to move, warm them up, and try to get them up so that they'll get up and nurse. And being born's hard work, as you can see. There's a flop down. Now watch her. Flipping that tail. See that? And she's not happy with me being here. She's telling me to back off. Alright, we'll give him a little bit more and we'll see if we can get him up once. He's about to attempt to get up with the hind end. Shouldn't say he, because I don't know what it is. Oh, there we go. There's a try. And she hasn't delivered the afterbirth yet, the placenta. And she will at some point. I hope there's not twins. I know it sounds like it's a lot of fun and everything, and we've shown a couple of them. But she could handle twins. She could, got a lot of milk, and she's a good, strong cow. But still, it's risky. And it really taxes the cow. It really takes a lot of weight off of them to support 2 calves, just double the milk output if they do that and if they sustain them nicely. Otherwise, they don't have the milk to, then that calf is, or both of them will not be quite as big as they should. There you go. Come on, little man. Come on. Or little girl. I don't know what you are. Oh, bang. Yeah, the flip-flop. Still trying. There we go. Come on, little one. Gotta use that hind end up first. You'll be better off, little guy. Come on. He's wore out already. He's got to catch his breath. It's amazing to me that they do what they do. They get up, and the whole instinct is to get something to eat, and they'll nose around this cow for a while until they find her lunchbox and latch on, and once they figure that out, you think sometimes it's going to take forever, and they're not going to make it. Eventually they do. You want to help them, but they got to do it on their own. She'll deliver this afterbirth of the placenta, and then while he's learning how to get up and move around a little better and to eat, then she will consume that placenta. They will eat it in its entirety, and there's some nutrient in it. It's also, I think, probably instead of moving off, getting out of there for predator attraction, that they kind of dispose of the evidence and leave no trace that way. And I'd like to think that's probably both things that happen, but regardless, that's what they do. He's going to try it again. Come on. Come on, little one. Look at her continue to lick on him. Pick him up. Push him. They'll just stimulate them till they keep going, till they keep moving. Yeah, I'm glad this turned out this way with her. I knew last year she'd be a good cow. Yeah, to go. Oh, almost. She really wants to be real broody and have a calf, and she was really wanting one last year when she lost hers. So I'm glad she got one. If we had some kind of an issue with her this year, I'd give her a chance, then I would sell her. But this is her lifeline to stay here. There we go. Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at that. We're up, and we're shaky, but we're there. Look at that. Amazing how fast that happens. And we'll let him get on his feet a little bit, and he starts getting some milk. We'll bring you back. All right, here's another attempt to get up. Going to try to look for a dinner bucket if he's like everybody else. And I actually think it's a heifer. Got a little snow squall coming through here, and the wind's starting to pick up. It's uncomfortable for me, and I'm not wet and furry. I can imagine like, and it is incredible how tough these little animals are. So delicate, yet at the same time, so tough. She's got him moving. She's going to get away from me. She's seeing that I wasn't going to back off. I was going to stay here, so she's going to say, fine. You don't like it? I'll move. And that's what she's going to do. So I think what we'll do is we're going to know that this little one's going to make it. I'm just going to get up and get a little chance to get something to eat and listen to her. She's really talking. I'd like to see it, but if we don't, we don't.
Brandon, that was wonderful. What a treat for the springtime to watch a calf being born. And I have to say, I'm going to get the word out on the street that you're a bit of a softie.
Don't tell anybody. I have got years worth of work to counter that. So don't tell anybody.
But it really is a miracle of life, isn't it? And I can't help but think that people who live close to it, that this has got to be the high point of the year. And I know that, I mean, I can see the snow spitting and the wind blowing, and there's all this, physical aspect of it. But that moment of birth is just a little bit of magic, isn't it?
It is. And no matter how many times you see it, how many years go by, it is never lost that, and it's not even an appeal. I really don't have a word for it. But magic is probably as adequate as any, because you realize mortality and life as it is, and more life will come, and it is a high point. It really is a high point of the year. You get tired, and you're invested in it, and every successful birth is like you're just thankful, and at the same time, they're not always born alive. And they don't always make it. And that it feels painful as well, because it's like you've failed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the things a lot of people don't understand about livestock producers is the emotional investment in all of this. That there's a really strong shepherding kind of a feeling, a sense of responsibility. Livestock producers care deeply about their animals.
Yeah, and it's not just a financial thing. It is an emotional attachment. I mean, my wife, and she's as soft and sweet and as kind a person as you'll ever meet. And she talks to them like they are her children. I mean, these are the cows,
Yeah.
So, so you do. They're not a family member, and you don't name cows, but you can't help but put a moniker on a few of them. I mean, there's just things that stand out, like ears, and there's a few of them like that happen to they grow on you enough, or something happens that they're not always good names either. I can tell you that. Remember 31? Remember cow number 31 when you guys were here?
Yeah, she was pretty ornery, if I remember. And I also remember Ears falling in love with Ears. I was threatening to take her away in my horse trailer and bring her home.
She'd have went. As long as you've got some cow cake, she'll follow you anywhere. She'll come actually running to you if she thinks you've got cake.
Yeah, she's crazy. I have a couple questions. When you do see a cow in distress, number one, how often do you check them to find a cow in distress? And then how do you get them to the barn? I mean, you were a mile out from your barn. So if that cow had shown significant stress, how would you have gotten her back, or would have you tried? How does that go?
Stay tuned for next week, because actually you won't see much of getting her into the barn, but I literally just ride, and that's the best means is horseback. I mean, you can do it a little bit with say a four-wheeler or our feed pickup, because they're tuned up to come to that cow cake.
Yeah.
But when a cow is having a calf, she doesn't want anything to do with anybody. you know, and she may be interested shortly, and then about this time a contraction hits, she's like, nah, I'm checking out. I want to be alone. So you have to work sometimes to get them in. And I've got for next week one that was showing some distress, and I was 3 hours horseback watching her. You know, I was monitoring, I should say, for the first hour and a half to 2 hours. And then when she was not progressing, and I like to see them do something progress within an hour. And if they don't, then it's time to start maybe thinking seriously about giving them some help. So, you know, you drive them in, and sometimes they are mad and they're in pain. And so they'll try to take your horse, which is always a iffy situation at any time, because if that horse spooks and, you know, he gets scared or she gets scared, then it's a matter of hoping you can hang on to something you got to ride. And it can be a real Western. It can be kind of ugly, but this horse that I'm on now, the horse with no name, he's kind of funny because he is so lazy. He's like Seabiscuit. He will lay down and go to sleep anywhere, and he just goes flat out asleep. he is funny. So he can't outrun a cow, and he couldn't outrun a pregnant cow with a little bit of trouble. So you'll see that next week, except for the bringing them in part. But it's just simply that it's pushing them, getting behind in them, and giving them some pressure to where they move away from you, and then you just direct them into the corrals. And sometimes they know those corrals aren't as fun as you would think they are, because, you know, they've been preg tested in there, they've gotten shots in there. It's never usually a positive thing. So sometimes I'll try to feed them in there, bring them in, and just give them some cake so that they, you know, kind of have that gambler's addiction, so they're willing to take a risk on whether it's going to be positive or not to go into that corral.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the advantages of a horse versus a four-wheeler. From my own perspective, I was always able to get closer to animals on a horse than I even was walking. It seemed like the horse, that other large animals were less stressed by another prey animal than by a predator walking upright. I mean, I've gotten really close to wildlife horseback, much closer than I have on foot. And is that part of it at all?
Well, and I think it might be, and I think it's size is one thing, because, you know, if you watch a dog around some of these cows, they will pay some serious attention to that dog and take them because they think it's a predator. And, you know, dogs are predators. I mean, that's what they are. So that will happen. And I think the largeness, and I think they're familiar with me to a point here with domestic cattle. But you're right, I've also gotten fairly close to animals out in the backcountry that you wouldn't think that they would be as tolerant as they are, but you're horseback, you're large, and I think there's that innate lack of serious imminent threat. So, you know, and when we're on our feet, we're not that much larger than some predators, you know, and then we'll do stupid things like kneel down to try to stay quiet and small. Well, that just is like, to them, it's like you're hiding in order to make an aggressive a pounce or something. So yeah, there's definitely something to that. Now you'll notice at the end of that, she moved off, and she was threatened the whole time. I think it pointed out the behavior. She didn't want me around, and she was threatening and, you know, bluffing, telling me to stay back. Right. And she didn't even wait for that calf to get that first, you know, drink of colostrum that's there for, you know, a little while in the milk, which is, you know, that does wonders for them. But she just wanted that calf away. So, you know what? I'm not going to fight that. I'm going to let them go away. I don't want to break a bond or cause a problem. And I want that calf strong enough that they'll try to eat. And, you know, sometimes they don't. Yeah. Last year when my son Braden was with me, he was naming some of these calves because he's such a goofball. And one calf would not figure out how to get that first bite of milk. And so the calf was circling the cow in a left circle, just right around her legs. So he called her Ricky Bobby, you know, from the Talladega Nights.
That's great.
Yeah, so, you know, you kind of have some fun with it, but you gotta do what's in the best interest of the cow. Would have liked to got some film on that first initial nursing, but you know what? The cow wants to take that calf, let him go and not harm the calf.
Yeah. Well, it's just a treat that you take us along on this, Brandon. Lots of nice comments in the chat. People saying, I so love all of Brandon's videos and listening to him. And you really do bring ranch life alive for us. And again, I appreciate, the sweet side of you. I think we all do. And I promise I won't say more.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm serious. I've got a rough and tough side that you want to put out there because you never know when you got to need it, but you got to back it up too. So
yeah, exactly. But I think that's very common in the livestock world. There are times when you do have to be tough, and there are times when, but it's the mixture.
It is.
Yeah. So blush. Okay. I'll let you go at that, Brandon. I just so enjoyed it. And I'm now looking forward to next week's episode, as we all are. And I do believe that Ashley is ready with our little Oggy.
All right.
I sure am.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Suzanne. And we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good.
Good. I see Oggy's not tacked up today.
Hey, Brandon, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, hi. Welcome back.
Hello again.
Technical difficulties. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
So we've got Oggy here. Today he's not tacked up because I really want to focus on just like nailing down the technique of getting him backed up to anything before we try and add the equipment as another level of difficulty on top of it.
Good. Yes, that is so necessary. So that's very good.
Yeah. So I've been working with him with the wooden poles like we started last week. I just moved him over here because the sun was better over here yesterday, whatever. And so the way that I've started with it is the whole width of this fence panel, just to get him like okay with backing up with the idea that there's poles there.
Yep.
And then, do it 3, 4, 5 times and then move them in maybe 6 inches. Do it again, move them in, do it again. And he got really good. I had him basically right up next to his legs yesterday, and we were backing in and out of them, getting him turned around and lined up to it. So we can try one of those today. But
that's great. That's great problem solving. That you start with the large and then break it down, and then get them to do what you want, and then you slowly work towards the final result. So, the very good job on that.
Yeah, and he's doing better now with the poles rolling around and moving.
Good.
And me positioning him back up.
Part of that is your persistence too, Ashley. Don't discount that. It's you making him do what you need to do, and that's training. I mean, that's in a very broad sense, that's what the focus is. So good job.
And even yesterday, I figured out that because he backed up into the single tree on it, and that scared him. So I realized he's still afraid of the metal poles on the stone boat and the sound that they make. And the fact that they move. So I was like, okay, well, I guess that means we need to do some desensitization. So I had him just standing near it first and just getting him to stand still and make sure he's not moving. And I would just pick it up off the ground, maybe a couple inches, and just let it drop. Pick it up a little higher, let it drop. Pick it up higher, let it drop. And just make the noise that it's going to, and the sound and the movement. And we got to the point where I could pick it up almost above my head, and then kind of just like drop it from waist level, and it made a big old banging sound, and he would just stand there. And of course, each time he does a good job. I give him some pets, which he likes. Yep. So it's now that I know like what was the main problem, I think we're we're going to be able to go forward with the stone boat stuff. But
Good.
you can see
And
even with the poles, go ahead.
One of the things to do, and you've mentioned it, which is an issue for him, and it is for any animal. We've talked a little bit about it before, is having that britchin behind them or as a holdback. That is important, that he feels things touch him on the hind end. And so when he's free like that and he backs into that single tree, great. Just back him into it till he calms down and understands what it is. So do that repetitively too. And that's part of the desensitization, because we don't want to just get partway there and then go, oh God, we should have made it so he knew what it was like to stop, or that this would touch him.
Like I need to be able to back him up into it, like almost too far, and him be fine. It's just hard when he touches it, freaks out, and then tries to run me over, and I'm like, I can't stop him. So we're getting
that's
there.
Right.
That's the next
step. You're right on. You're right on. You want to dang sure be safe about it, but you already know what you need to do, so that's great.
Good. Well, I mean, I guess we could just like kind of show off today or kind of work on that, but I feel like it's going to be kind of like a shorter session, but as much as I like want to continue on to the next thing, I think we're so close to nailing this one. Back up.
Yeah, and that's something that's very important in training. You want to keep going on some things, but you can't just bypass, because what you do is you create what we call a hole in the horse's training, where they kind of got that okay, and we just moved past it because we were tired of working on it, or they didn't respond as well, but they'll kind of do it. That's a hole, and you can't have holes. So yeah, this is a good decision on your part. I think that's the right move, and we don't want to get into something where we're trained or asking him to do something beyond his safe training.
And yesterday, after he spooked on it, and he's done it a couple of times now, and I had to fight with him, last Monday or even the week before that, to get him just even close to it again.
Right.
And I was getting frustrated. He was getting frustrated. And so yesterday I was just like, okay, I'm not going to get frustrated. I will break this down into little tiny baby steps for you, into little breadcrumbs, so that way we could figure out what the problem is going to be. And so me staying calm helped a lot with keeping him calm. So that's something that I know I need to work on.
Yeah, controlling your emotion is so important, and you know what? And it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to get mad. It's okay to get upset. Just don't show it. Now, one of the things that you should always, and this is some training that was for me, not in the horse world. It was actually, when I was in law enforcement, in interview and interrogation type things that I was trained in. That when you feel about ready to give up, so are they. Keep going. So when you're frustrated, they're frustrated. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't give up, because you're about to have a breakthrough. And you may go a lot longer with that, or with some more issues, but don't quit. Keep going.
Yeah, that's what happened that one day that I texted you, like, I'm going to put my forehead through the refrigerator. It was an extra hour that we had been out here, just me fighting with him, running back and forth. But I got him to do it just one more time. That's what I always tell him. Just one more. Yep. Just one more. I just need you to do it one time. I need to win, and then we can go back.
Yes.
But yesterday it was just a lot more tame. Like, he did spook at it, but working through him being scared of it seemed to help a lot. And he still is not too keen on like banging his legs on the metal, because on the wood they're different. The wood's a lot softer than the metal is, so he's not about that, but banging around on these things and then the sound and everything. So we're just kind of like, okay, let's get that part 100% before we move on to something else.
Yeah, and your observation of him responding differently to wood than he does to steel, there is something that's just more organic about a log or a branch or a pole than there is to something metal. And I think it's something in their noggin that they recognize, that they smell. It's like, yeah, this isn't normal. But in kind of a situation where he's at now, he's around that kind of stuff all the time. So again, when they're acting like that, or they're kind of pushing your buttons a little bit, also the possibility is they know what you want. They're just trying to hold out, and they're just trying to be the dominant one. So always, consider those two things. And even if they're not trying to be the dominant one, but you worked through the desensitization, then you've also worked through who's dominant. So it's a kind of a 2-for-win for you.
And I can even tell yesterday, we're getting to the point where I need to like turn his head to move his butt. He was still moving his head the opposite way, but not quite so, dominant. Like he was just like kind of move it and be like, oh, okay, fine, I'll move. So like he's giving up easier and easier.
Yes, he's still trying to fight because it's worth trying it. But if he gets nowhere, then he's like, okay, this isn't going to work. I'll just go ahead and comply. And that's the whole point. Remember, in a very large way, when he wouldn't go into even the poles, and then you would pull him out and then walk him way around because it's a reset for you. That's also that's what I'm saying with that is not doing that. When you allow that to happen, or you do that thinking you do the right thing, you're actually reinforcing him that you took the pressure off. So not allowing him to go anywhere. And then he fought you hard, really hard, because you were not allowing it. And that's when you start to win that battle of, okay, he's just got to comply, and he will fight, and they'll fight, and they'll fight really, really hard, because just as you would, if you're going to lose control, you're going to fight hard to keep that control.
Exactly.
And
even yesterday, like he was still throwing his head around a little bit, swishing his tail, stepping to the side, but I was just really adamant about, no, I'm right here in front of you. You're not going anywhere.
Right.
You're going to do what I say. So
good job. Yeah. That so often it's not very intuitive a lot of times that you, don't reset, because you're resetting your own mind. Sometimes you go like, oh my God, if I just start over from way back here, I'm going to be able to do this. And it's not about you at that moment. It's about not.
It's like when you're learning to parallel park and you're just like, okay, mess it up, pull it forward, back it up, mess it up, pull it forward, back it up, mess it up. Like, no, just do it until you get it.
Yes, exactly right. And it's a real mindset, and it's an emotional state secondary to that mental state. The emotion will follow the mental acuity or the mental breakdown, either way, that we have in that. And sometimes I've lost it and went, oh God, that didn't work. And it was because I screwed that up. I mentally wasn't focused. All right. Now I'm seeing some video.
Okay.
All right. Good. It looks like you're petting his nose. And
I'm playing with his lip, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Looks like it. So sounds good. Well, let's do your thing, Ashley. Let's see what you do and how we're going to work on it, and see if I can help you at all. And you may be doing everything just right, and it's just more repetition. But this repetition is so important. So good.
Okay.
Good.
Let's give it a try.
And I cannot stress enough how well you did by breaking down what needed to be done, thinking outside the box of just forcing them, and having some success. That's what being a trainer is about. You don't train every horse or any two horses exactly the same.
Good boy. Yeah, so this is what we were dealing with yesterday, just dancing around it. So I would just bring him back over to the same side, do the same thing again. Sit. Good boy. Yeah, he's very hesitant. Come on. Very hesitant to step into it.
Yeah, that's okay. But I think what you did there to make a little bit more success is you took him a little further up there, and so he has less of a chance to avoid it. So good job. He's got to step over it, and you've got him pointed the right direction. There you go.
Ooh, good. And this is what we did a lot too. I would just get his 2 feet in here.
Okay.
Take it slow. Give him some pets.
Yep.
It's okay. Yep. Ooh.
Yeah, he did a kind of a good side pass there.
Yeah.
Can you get him to step over both sides of those fronts? Or get one, and then when you continue on, just have him step over the one closest to you. There you go. That's not bad. It's helping. You still want to swing that hind end around.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and I think you've experienced this, I'm sure, is that you do well on one session, and then you come back, and then they want to go right back to the same old, oh, I don't want to do this.
It's like I got to restart.
There you go.
Good.
Yes.
Ooh, easy.
Yes.
Good boy. Ooh, good boy.
Very good.
Good boy. Good job. That's all we need.
Yeah, and when you can get that repetitive and consistent time after time, there you go. Yes, get him to, and he's anticipating because I can see where his hocks are at. He's watching, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Cool. Stay.
It would be nice if you could lift those up, your shavs up, hold them so that single tree comes up there above his hocks, and then back him into it. But that's later.
Yeah. I want to figure out something that's like, I mean, either get him perfect at coming around and backing up into it first, or figuring out something that's a little more sturdy to set it up on. Yeah. Because if I'm trying to fight him kicking that and getting scared of that and also being scared of that, that's too much fighting going on. Like, I want to have one thing 100% before you try and add like other variables to it.
Yeah. And I think one thing that you might be able to use for that to help you that's not going to hurt anything is one of those traffic candles. And I think it's got a loop in the top of it. It's not a cone, but the straight cylinder.
Okay. I'm not sure if we have any of those.
Oh, I thought you had a couple of those. Maybe you don't. But anyway, if you just put the top of the shafts, one shaft in there, it'll hold those up. And who cares if they get hit? Because that's what they're designed to do, is take they're just about 3 inches around or so, and they have that black base, and then they just stand up. Like, maybe it wasn't you guys that had those.
Oh,
I thought I said
okay, so we do have like the tall traffic cones. You mean like the rubber stoppers on the bottom?
Yeah.
For the rubber base? Yeah, we have those.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, would it stick in too far or something? I don't know.
Well, just barely hold it, and if it falls down, who cares? He's got to get used to that anyway.
Yeah, and it's rubber. It wouldn't make a bunch of noise.
Right, and you're just adding some complexity to that might help you a little bit, but don't be afraid to use that, and then eventually get him to back into those. And what we're doing is just working beyond this, where he's having all kinds of variables to have to do. So, in reality, what you're going to do, and that's basically for backing him into that single tree and stuff, and just something different and varied. That you're going to be doing. Basically this, you pull him up to it and back him into it in all reality. So it's good. There you go. Good. Nice. Very nice.
Good boy. Yeah, you didn't spook. Good job. Back up.
Yeah, he kicked it and didn't even bother him.
Back up.
Very good.
Good. Well,
there, he's so close. I would say he almost might touch that thing. One more kick. There. Okay, he's just picking his foot up.
Yeah.
His ailing foot. Yeah, that wasn't a search. All right. Yeah, that's looking really good. He seems to be
doing all right on that foot. It's just kind of like in the mornings right now when it's cold, it seems to ache a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out where we're at on that. I got to update the vet this week and see. Because we were talking about last week, we were giving him some Butte, just like 1 gram.
Yeah. With
some syrup, just to kind of like anti-inflammatory, and so he's considering Equiox. If the Butte is working, then we could try something like that for anti-inflammatory. So
good.
He told me to try that Butte out for 2 or 3 weeks, and now is the week to update him on it. So it seems to be working. I can't notice a difference in the round pen because we don't go in there that often.
Right. Yep.
But maybe like today or tomorrow or something, I can give him his Butte, take him to the round pen, and see how it's been doing. But other than that, I mean, this is pretty much what we're going to work on this week, is just getting him really good at this, and then hopefully next week we can go on to the next step.
Yeah, and you get good at this. Don't hesitate to lift those shafts up and back him into that single tree. And if he comes forward, that's okay. He's supposed to come forward. You're just not supposed to spook forward, is all. So
right.
Yeah, you'll handle that. But just as out of curiosity for our listeners too, are you when you're using Butte on a horse, it's basically like aspirin for us. And so you want to be careful with stomach ailments. I mean, they can cause ulcers in a horse if they're used too high a dose and too often. So you guys are using this at a low dose and watching what it's doing. But what about the Equiox? What are you, if you have to go there, did the vet talk to you at all about that?
No, we haven't discussed too many details on that yet. It was just more of like, this may be an option. Let's see if the Butte does anything. Okay. But I think he did bring up the fact that it could cause stomach problems. So it just kind of depends on his activity level and what we're actually going to need the anti-inflammatory for. But like if he's just out in the pasture with his buddies, he doesn't need it. When we're working in here, he doesn't really need it. And so like, you know, it's not something I want to give him every single day.
Right.
But if it's going to be more of an intense day or something like that, then maybe just the 1 gram beforehand and then go from there.
Yeah. And that's just, and it's really, for listeners, it's not to completely take the pain away. It's to reduce inflammation mainly, but it is also as an analgesic a little bit. But, you know, pain is there for a purpose. It's to prevent you from working it as hard.
Right.
And sometimes
and it's kind of like, it's like taking 1 ibuprofen to take the edge off rather than 3 or 4 to knock it out. That's
correct. And you need that pain there to help you monitor how hard you work. So it's a good thing. It helps us. So, and it helps them as well. So good. I just wanted to kind of cover that a little bit and then ask if
definitely
about the Equiox a little bit, because I've never used it, believe it or not, I've never used Equiox. I don't know much about it.
I mean, I've never used it before either. So I'm going to do some more research on it. I'm sure Suzanne will as well. The vet that we have he's a good vet. So I trust his word on some things that he has to say. But we'll see where we go. I'm just going to update him this week and then see kind of what he recommends. But, you know, we're not doing that intensive work with him so far. But if we do get to the point where he's being ridden or going on trails and stuff, then we're going to have to figure out some solution for it or see where his lameness is at that point.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, you guys are doing a nice, good conservative approach. And when a vet does that, that's always way better than, you know, really doing some really radical stuff. So that's good. He's got the best interest of Oggy in mind. So that's great. Well, yeah, I think you're doing great. This is a huge improvement over last week. I can see
just the fact that we're standing here.
Yes, I would say just the fact that he is listening and not moving away. I mean, you've turned the corner on that mental fight with him, which is so important. And again, spoiled horses are tough. Mares are tough. And they're supposed to be, but you just keep at it, and you just got to be a little bit mentally tougher, and then consistent and persistent, and you'll win. And when you win those and get the desired response, that training is then pretty dang well ingrained.
I was smiling ear to ear yesterday when I got him. I sent you that picture. That smile in my text was like an actual smile on my face. Which of course, like 2 minutes after that, he kicked the thing and spooked at it. So then I think I sent you that second picture like 30 minutes later or something. But it only took us that 30 minutes to kind of work through his issues. Right. And then at that point, that was at the very end of all of the desensitizing I had done. So it only took from the point of him spooking till then to get him completely reset, and, you know, me picking up the shafts and dropping them. And I was literally like this yesterday, just kicking the crap out of it. And he's fine.
Yep. Well, and again, they're gonna continue to try. They're gonna see what they can get away with, and that's you stopping them. And the quicker you stop them, you catch them when they're in that thinking stage of you can just see it in their eye, or they start to use their body. You want to catch it then, because it's easier to change their mind than it is to change their mind and their body movement. And and then if you can adjust that, and so that you're continually controlling them mentally, it looks easy. It is like you're not doing anything, but you are. And so it's good.
Yesterday I had him here with the rope on the ground, also working on him staying, which he's been just so much better at. Even grooming and tacking up, he's just so much better at standing quiet. Yeah. But I had him staying here, and I was picking up the shafts to his side, and anytime he would think to like just start leaning forward, I was like, nope, don't do it. So I can kind of see it with the little hamster on the wheel, and they're like, oh, maybe I can go, and I'm like, no, you're staying put.
Well, and that hamster on that wheel in there is not lame. That hamster moves fast, so you can, he's always scheming. You can just see it, but he's as calm now as we've seen him probably at all. As he is, and it doesn't look like you're doing anything right now, but you are. That's the point. You are making him comply. He's standing there and he's calm. And once in a while, you're reaching over and you're kicking that and making some noise. It doesn't look like.
And he's
training.
getting some positive reinforcement. And giving him pets.
Yes.
And just making it a pleasant experience for him. That was what I wanted to make sure I did yesterday. A lot of was make this whole vehicle pleasant for him to be at.
Yep.
So anytime he did something good, you got, okay, good boy, nice calm pets, some positive reinforcement. I didn't want to be up in his face and doing all that stuff because it just doesn't work for either of us, because I get too tense about it and he gets tense. And so it's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to stay calm for the rough parts. And then when you do something good, I'm going to make that the big deal.
Yes. Yep. That's why, when we talked before about I give them 3 forms of praise. I take the pressure off, and that's what you were doing. You were really taking the pressure off. I verbally praise them, and then I will physically praise them by just like you putting your hand on him. That's 3 forms of praise. They like that. They like being touched and scratched, and they like not having to do anything. So it works out.
Especially him being a spoiled baby. He loves pets and scratches and attention. Oh, yeah. So if that's the one form of, praise that he wants the most, then he needs to work for it and do the right thing. And then he can have all the pets in the world that he wants. Nothing's
free, baby. You got to earn it.
Nope.
Got to earn it. All right. Well, you're doing great. Really, really good job. You worked hard this week. You really have. And I know sometimes it doesn't seem like it to you while you're doing it in real time. And I struggle with this as well. Like, God, am I really getting anywhere with this horse? But if you can review that and you look back at what you did 5, 6, 7 days ago, and you're like, oh, yeah, because he's not doing this anymore, you tend to forget about the things that they're doing wrong.
Yeah, even from Friday, we didn't even touch the stone boat. We went nowhere near it. We just worked with the poles, and that was what I did. Just move them in closer to him until they were basically just touching his legs, and all he could do was back up. And then yesterday, I was like, okay, we're going to do some pole work, but then we're going to go onto the stone boat. And so that's when we started doing that, and it took maybe 45 minutes to get him situated with it. So I can tell that we're going on further to another step, but I've got the sore shoulder to prove that we did some work.
Yeah, that happens. Rotator cuffs are they're a kind of a tough thing for people that handle ropes and horses. One of the things that you need to know is this may be, and I suspect, I don't know for sure, but it seems to me like he's starting to do what we call roll, and that means give up and quit fighting you. And the more that you're consistent with getting him to do that, the more that roll happens, and then can be later on also applied towards when you start saddling him and riding him. And everything that you introduce after that, he will accept that easier. And it takes less and less to really ingrain it in that training, less repetition, because he has, again, it's a mental, we call it just rolling over for you, or rolling. And it's just that mental, okay, I get it. It's not worth the fight anymore. And
I'm glad we're kind of getting the fight out of him before I have to put a saddle and me on his back.
Right. And I suspect that I'm suspecting that you're starting to roll with him, or he's rolling for you. And that's where, you're always going to have these little small fights, but not like you had before. So this is a very good indication, very good sign.
And even just walking around, moving him, doing groundwork or anything, he is just so much more sensitive and receptive to the little cues that I'm giving him. Just the littlest tap on his halter now is what's going to make him back up, instead of me like, back up, getting in his face about stuff.
Right.
So
yeah,
we definitely have come a long way.
You're not having to throw a great big logging truck in front of him to get him to move.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. Well, you've got a plan. You're doing well, and I think we need to continue to work this to do it right, and not have any issues. Other things will come up. I mean, it just happens. That's the way training is. But this is a huge one to overcome, and I was kind of reticent to continue on early, even out of the round corral, so much because he would still fight. But this is a little bit different circumstance and a little bit different perspective. Still the same fight, but you're winning. You're in a way you could say you're round corralling him out here and in other things because you're controlling him. So outstanding. Good job.
Thank you. And I did want to ask you before we go about the shafts. How far in do you think we need to bring them? I don't know if you can get a better view on an S cam or something, but they're like, I don't know, almost a foot, maybe 10 inches away from either side of him.
Yeah.
Does it need to be like almost to his shoulder?
Yeah, it preferably needs to be about, if you could put like the width of your hand between each shaft and each shoulder, then that would be about right. So, 3 to 4
Like
inches.
the skinny way or the long way?
The long way,
inches?
like
Okay.
that. Yep. If you put that up against his shoulder and then that shaft come up right there, I wouldn't want it to be much further out than that because you don't want it to rub on them. You just want it to be close to them. And we've got it's wide enough that we've got plenty of room on his hind end, and that's by design, so that he can move and because this is a training type optical or and it's not super wide, but I think we're wider on the front there after he went through and hit the post and probably
well, I know James
just a little bit.
Yeah, James kind of snapped it back into place, but they definitely need to be thinner. And plus, he's so skinny in the front, like it needs to come in anyways.
Yeah, and because you want it to sit basically when your harness is on him, you want the shaft loops will hang out from the harness, which is going to be about probably somewhere around that 3-inch mark on either side, and you just want those to just rest in there. You don't want them to be sprung towards him and in between his shoulders or pushing on either shoulder, but you don't want them out there really wide. You just want them to just lay right beside the shoulder. So I wouldn't have it any further out than about the width of your hand, and I'm suspecting your hand is about 3 inches in width, probably.
Yeah, probably 3 or 4. Okay, yeah, I think we can grab some rubber mallets or something and just kind of smack them into place.
Yeah, you might be able to just
or bend them.
I would put like a 2x4, 2x6 in between them, about halfway between or 2/3 of the way between your footman's loop and your single tree, and put that in there as a brace, and then maybe take something and pull them together like some ratchet straps or something like that, and kind of bend it a little bit. That stuff is strong, but it also springs. So, I mean, it's really kind of a good material for this. But once it springs, then you got to go, okay, we've got to stop. We've got to readjust this one again because it's out.
Yeah, we can work on that this week, and hopefully we'll have it ready to go for the next week or two.
That sounds good. All right.
Cool. Great. Thanks for your time, Brendan.
You betcha. Good luck, and we'll see you later.
Yep, and I'll send you updates this week. See ya.
I look forward to them. All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.